Sami Nader joins us from Beirut. He's the director of the Levant Institute for Strategic Affairs, which is a think tank. Thanks so much for coming on the show. First of all, was the name Hassan Diab a surprise for you?
I mean, the fact is there are three major obstacles for this name to be credible and to be a viable solution to get Lebanon out of the crisis. The first obstacle for Mr. Diab is that he is perceived as a pro-Hezbollah, someone who has been backed by the Hezbollah and his allies, backed by three major parties: Hezbollah, its allies Amal, and the Free Patriotic Movement, which is the Christian party allied to Hezbollah. And so he will have a government that will be perceived as a Hezbollah or pro-Hezbollah government, which will make a major obstacle for the main task that any government is expected to do and to deliver to get Lebanon out of the economic crisis. Lebanon cannot get out of the economic crisis without an international financial package, and this is where the problem lies. How the international community, that in majority or the main donors have labeled Hezbollah a terrorist organization, will help a government that is pro-Hezbollah. So this is one first major obstacle. The second obstacle for Mr. Diab is because he's backed by Hezbollah, he doesn't have any political support or backing from the Sunni community. And this put into question the legitimacy of his candidacy according to the power sharing system that you were talking about in the introduction or in the report. And this is actually one major impediment. The third obstacle is the profile is not accepted by the protesters because it's backed by parties that are against the technocrat government. These three parties we were talking about, the major backers of Mr. Diab, they insist on a techno-political government, which is what the street is expecting. So facing the street, facing the international community and perceived as Hezbollah will not make the things easy for Mr. Diab.
Sami, so many points that you've made there, all very, very, very interesting. So given these three huge obstacles, why have they picked him?
Because they tried all other options and they don't want to abide by the demand of the protesters and the major parties that are in control. They don't want to release power. They want to keep the system. Secondly, maybe, and that there is a big likelihood that Hezbollah is trying, and Iran behind him is trying to use the Lebanon or the formation of government in Lebanon as a bargaining chip in the big negotiation that is not yet kicked off between Iran and the United States of America. So Lebanon once more is being used as a bargaining card in the big regional game.
And do you think, despite the obstacles that you've mentioned, that he will stay as Prime Minister?
He may be as a prime minister, I mean, but the problem is, will he succeed? Because any prime minister in place, any government to be formed needs an amount of money to be injected in the economy in order to get things done. So where this money come from? The coffers of the state are totally empty. There is a deep economic crisis. There is no single margin of maneuver in order to put more taxes. When they try to put $6 on the telecom tax, people take it to the street. So the only option any government will have is to go to the IMF and to try to get financial bailout from there. But the IMF will not give any penny for free. He will have political conditions as well as economic condition. And here where a government backed by Hezbollah is itself a major obstacle.
It really seems by what you're saying that this actually paralyzes Lebanon's economic situation even more. Tell us, how bad is the economy right now?
The economy is really very bad because, just to give you an example, most of the companies are paying today half a salary, and while a big number of the private sector, the productive sectors have already closed any kind of activity. The state has enough money to pay salary for the months to come, but yet even the Minister of Finance is saying that he's not sure he's having enough money to pay the civil servants for next year, starting January. He said, I'm not sure we have this amount of money. Plus the situation in the banking sector is really very dramatic because of unperforming loan and because the treasury bills that this is constitute the big chunk of their revenue. Both of these assets are in distress. So we are in a situation whereby we have a big major problem at the level of public finance, a major problem at the level of the banking sector, and a major problem at the level of the central bank. This won't make things easy for a rescue plan, even if the IMF is on board. But even the IMF, which has the technical expertise to deal with a country that is close to default, this solution is not on the table because it faces up to now the refusal of the Hezbollah and the remaining parties or the ruling class. So we are not out of the tunnel yet. The only solution that we are talking about is not yet accepted by the ruling class, who's who just nominated Mr. Diab as a potential prime minister.
Sami Nader, you paint a very dire picture there in Lebanon. We appreciate your perspective and your time. Thank you so much for coming on the show.